Hi, my name's Lindsay, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about watercolour pans versus tubes. I've got both, and as a beginner I started with watercolour pans, and I'm going to be explaining a bit about both in this video. A little bit about myself before we get started. I'm self-taught and I've been painting for 4 years. I started my watercolour journey using watercolour pans. I started with a really inexpensive watercolour set that I found in a stationery shop by accident. I went to the shop to buy acrylic and I just saw this set and it was a really good price, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to pick these up. So I started painting with acrylic, and then as soon as I used watercolours, I ditched my acrylics and just continued with watercolours because I loved them so much. So I used that really inexpensive pan set for about maybe 3 months, and then I upgraded to the Winsor & Newton Cotman set that I've still got today, but I don't really use it that much now because I do prefer tubes. But for 18 months, I used this pan set solidly, and it played a massive part in helping me to learn how to paint in watercolours. I discovered my favourite colours by using this set, so I highly recommend it. It is a lovely, good quality set to use. These paints are student grade, which means they're not artist quality, but they are really lovely quality, and I still use Cotman paints today, but in tube form. So I'll leave a link in my description box of this set that I started with. I decided then to start using tube paints. So I ordered a few colours of the Winsor & Newton Cotman tubes, and I love these so much. The reason why I started using tubes is because there were lots of artists on YouTube that I was watching that were using tubes as well, and it just seemed a lot easier to use the tubes. I was really struggling with activating my paint and picking up enough pigment on my brush using the pans, so I just preferred to use the tubes where I could get lots of pigment and I could just have rich and vibrant colour from the tubes. I fell in love with them straight away, and I've stuck to tubes now. I've got loads of Cotman colours, as you can see. I keep them in this little box attached to my art table. I've slowly over time, because they are expensive, let's be fair, added professional paints to my collections, and I haven't tried all brands, but my favourite brands to use are Daniel Smith and Winsor & Newton Professional. I find the quality of paint so beautiful to work with. It is high quality, artist grade paint. It looks like I've got loads of tubes now, but honestly I have added these gradually over 2 years. So I didn't buy all these colours all in one go. I'm just a little bit obsessed with art supplies. First thing I'm going to show you is how to activate your paint when you're using pans. This is something that I didn't know for the first at least 8 months of my painting journey. And I don't know why I didn't learn it. I didn't find videos like this at the time, and I just wish there was more videos like this. Like I said, it would have helped me massively as a beginner. There are 2 ways that I activate my paint. So you can take a little spray bottle, and I do find this the easiest way to activate your paints. Buy a little spray bottle. I got this from Jackson's Art, but you can find these in lots of stationery shops. You could probably find these in supermarkets now down the garden section or the beauty aisle. You can also find bottles like this on places like Amazon. But what I do is I take my little spray bottle and I'll spray a little bit of water onto each colour that I'm going to use. I don't spray all my colours because I don't want to get that paint wet, because the more you get your paint wet, then the more chances that mould is going to grow in your paints, and you want to try to avoid that really. This is very rare though. I've still not had any of my watercolours grow mould yet, and I'm so glad because I don't know how to fix that. But once you've sprayed your paints, what you want to do is allow the water to seep into the paint for a few seconds. So just sit and leave it, be patient, leave it alone. And then what that will do is the water will work its way into the paint, pick up the pigment and disturb the pigment, and then you can use your paintbrush then, and what you'll find is you'll pick up some lovely vibrant paint. You can also use a clean paintbrush. Grab your paintbrush and add a tiny little puddle into each colour that you're going to use. Leave it to sit for a couple of seconds, and again it'll just help to loosen up the paint, and it'll pick the pigment up, and then you can use that paint and you'll have a lovely vibrant bold colour. So it's really lovely for a beginner. If you're not sure what colours to get, you can get one pan set, and then you can test all the different colours, and you'll soon find out what's your favourite colour just by playing around with them. This is what I did, and I always seemed to reach for the phthalo blue, the permanent rose and the lemon yellow, and those are my 3 favourite colours today. They are the colours that I use the most in my paintings. They're beautiful primaries. If you don't know what primary is, it's a yellow, a blue and a pink, and it is not fingers. I don't know why I did that, but those are the colours that you can use to mix most colours. Pan colours are usually cheaper than tubes as well. It all depends on the brand that you get. So in most brands you'll find a tube colour or a half pan or a full pan set. Half pans are smaller than the full pans, and these ones that I have here are half pans. So they're a tiny little square and they do last a really long time, don't get me wrong. This pan set has lasted me, like I said, 18 months. Some of the colours I did have to replace, but they were really inexpensive. I think they cost me like £2 something for the Cotman colours. Cotmans are very inexpensive anyway, I think. So it's lovely if you run out of your favourite colour, you can just replace them with the tubes. And these are the Winsor & Newton Cotman colours. You can paint straight from the tube if you want to. I don't tend to do this because I like to add a little bit of water to get my paint moving. I also like to mix my paints and I add water and stuff to my paints to thin it down as well a lot of the time. And I do follow someone on Skillshare that primarily paints from the tube. She's got a really good technique that she came up with. But what most artists do is they'll squeeze a little bit of paint onto their palette and they'll take that paint, they'll add water to it to thin it down. It all depends on how thick you want your paint to be. Because the more water you add to your paint, the thinner and the lighter it will get. And if you use it sticky straight from the tube, then you'll have a lovely dark colour and it'll be really vibrant and strong. You'll always get the freshest result from using this straight from the tube. So using the paint wet, and I do this sometimes, especially if I want a really dark colour and I want to limit how much water I add to that dark colour. So for instance, if I'm using like a dark grey or a dark blue, I will use it straight from the tube. I'll add it to my palette and then just add the tiniest amount of water. So I'm not dipping my brush in and out of the paint. But what I like to do is to squeeze my tubes into my palette. I'll allow them to dry overnight and then I can reactivate them when I want to use them. And I'll use the same method as I did with the pans. So I'll spray the paints a little bit and I'll leave it to sit for a little bit, and that sort of picks up the paint. It works its way into the paint and loosens up the pigment, and then you can use your paint and it just creates this lovely vibrant paint. I just love this method. As a beginner, it's really common to pick up too much paint, but you really just need the tiniest amount. Watercolours go so far and they last a really long time, so you really do need the smallest amount of paint. So if you do it like this, then honestly your paints will last a really long time. And I do see a massive difference with the professional colours because I've got lots of colours in the Cotman that I've also got in the Winsor & Newton professional paints. I'll show you the difference in a minute because although sometimes you can't see much of a difference, I can definitely feel and see the difference. These are beautiful paints. They work so lovely on the paper and I can get some beautiful results by using these paints. I definitely see a massive difference with the professional paints compared to the student grade paints that I was using previously. The paint is richer, it's a bit thicker, it works better on the paper, and I can just get some beautiful professional results with these paints. They are a lot more expensive than the Cotman, but I prefer to buy the professionals now, so I try not to buy the Cotman if I can help it, because I just prefer to buy the professional paint. It does last a really long time. If I buy a 30mm tube, it will last me probably 2 years or more. It depends on how much I use that paint, but my favourite colours, I use them a lot and I've still got loads left after numerous paintings. So honestly, a little goes a long way, and although they can be expensive, if you've got the budget, I would definitely try one, and then if you love them, maybe gradually add more and more colours as you go, because I do really recommend them. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you had fun learning the difference between watercolour pans and watercolour tubes. If you've got any questions, just comment in the comments box below and I'll get back to you. Have a lovely rest of your day and I'll see you soon. Bye.